A Night Piece by William Wordsworth, 1770 to 1850. The sky is overcast with a continuous cloud of texture close, heavy and wan, all whitened by the moon, which through that veil is indistinctly seen. A dull contracted circle yielding light so feebly spread that not a shadow falls, chequering the ground from rock, plant, tree or tower. At length a pleasant instantaneous gleam startles the pensive traveller while he treads his lonesome path, with unobserving eye bent earthwards. He looks up, the clouds are split asunder, and above his head he sees the clear moon and the glory of the heavens. There, in a black-blue vault she sails along, followed by multitudes of stars that, small and sharp and bright, along the dark abyss drive as she drives. But how fast they wheel away, yet vanish not. The wind is in the tree, but they are silent. Still they roll along, immeasurably distant, and the vault, built round by those white clouds, enormous clouds, still deepens its unfathomable depth. At length the vision closes, and the mind, not undisturbed by the delight it feels, which slowly settles into peaceful calm, is left to muse upon the solemn scene. Okay, this poem is by William Wordsworth. He's one of the most famous British poets ever. He came from Cumberland, which is a very rural place. It's out in the countryside, and most of the poetry that he writes is very descriptive. And this is a night piece. This is describing a traveller walking down a path at night, and the moon is overcast, the sky is overcast, and you can see the moon through the clouds. And then suddenly the clouds move open, and the traveller suddenly looks up and he can see the moon and the stars in this gap in the clouds. And the traveller feels wonder at seeing the moon. And then after a while, having looked at the moon, the clouds move back again, and we go back to this overcast sky with the moon shining through. And I think Wordsworth is using this as a metaphor to describe God and his feeling of God, that God is always present, even when we can't see him. So we've got the clouds obscuring the moon, so you can only just see it. And this is God being present, even though we don't really feel it. And then suddenly, from time to time, the clouds open and we see the wonders of God. Yeah? And then they close again. So it's saying that God is with us at all times, even if we don't feel it, even if we don't recognize it. So notice as well, this it's not written in rhyme. Yeah, there is no rhyme structure to this. Okay, so it's just describing. The sky is overcast with a continuous cloud of texture close. So there are clouds in the sky. The only thing you can see are the clouds, yeah? And they're very close knit. They're very close together. Heavy and wan, all whitened by the moon. So the clouds seem very heavy. I get the feeling that they hang down quite low. And wan means pale, yeah? All whitened by the moon. So the moon behind these clouds is making them look white. The moon, which through that veil is indistinctly seen. So you can see the moon a little bit, but it's hidden by this veil. The veil is the covering that goes over something. A veil over somebody's face, for example. Okay, so you can see it, the moon, indistinctly through this veil of clouds. A dull, contracted circle. Okay, so you can see this small circle, but it's dull, it's not very intense. Yielding light so feebly spread that not a shadow falls. Okay, so the moon gives light, but it's very feeble, it's not strong, it's very weak. And it's so weak that there are no moon shadows on the ground. You can't see the shadows of the things on the ground. So I think there are no shadows that checker the ground. A checker is black and white, a black and white square pattern. So you can't see the pattern of shadows on the ground from the moon. And these shadows would come from the rocks and the plants and the trees, or maybe from a tower that is nearby. So there are no shadows from the moon. At length, a pleasant instantaneous gleam startles the pensive traveller while he treads. So at length, after a time, there's a sudden instantaneous shine. So suddenly the moon shines, and it's very pleasant, and this startles, this surprises the traveller, who is very pensive, who's thinking about his own things. Yeah, so he's walking along thinking about things, while he treads his lonesome path, with unobserving eye bent earthwards. So he's walking along looking down. Yeah, and thinking about his own things, and probably thinking about where he's stepping. He looks up. Wow. The clouds are split asunder. So asunder, apart. The clouds have moved apart. And above his head he sees the clear moon and the glory of the heavens. So he looks up, and the clouds have moved apart, and he can see the moon clearly. And the glory of the heavens, the skies. And clearly here, the glory of the heavens, this is referring to God in heaven. And maybe the moon is representing God, and the heavens, or the sky that he can see, is this place of heaven. There, in a black-blue vault, she sails along. So the moon is sailing along, is moving in like a container or a sky or something behind it that is black and blue. So there is the moon in this night sky. And I think it seems to be moving, because I have a feeling the clouds are moving. And this gives the moon an appearance that it is moving as well in the opposite direction. So she, the moon, she sails along, she moves along, followed by multitudes of stars. So the moon is accompanied by hundreds of stars, and maybe these multitudes of stars, these are the spirits of the departed, or the people in heaven. That, so the stars, that, small and sharp and bright, along the dark abyss drive as she drives. So these stars, they seem to follow the moon, to drive, to move along as the moon moves. And the dark abyss, well, the abyss, I think, normally is a metaphor for hell, or something that has no end. So I think this dark abyss is the infinity of space. Yeah, you can see forever. And maybe here the moon is like a ray of hope, or shining hope, in the dark world that we live in, or the darkness of this world. How fast they wheel away, yet vanish not. So it seems like the stars are wheeling away and moving away very fast. But they're silent, so they don't make any noise. They still roll along, immeasurably distant. So despite the fact that they are incredible distances away, they are very, very far from us, but they keep moving. And the vault built round by those white clouds. So now he's talking about the vault is this space that the clouds have opened up to let the moon shine through. And you could have the vault of the ceiling of a cathedral. So this is like the frame or the setting. Yeah. And the moon is framed within these clouds. Enormous clouds. So repetition, they're enormous clouds. So I think he's a sense of awe with the size of everything. Still deepens in its unfathomable depth. So the enormous size of the clouds amplifies how amazing this scene is. It amplifies how far away your view is. The depth of the vision is unfathomable. You can't conceive of distances like that. At length, the vision closes. So after a time, the clouds cover the moon again. This vision, this holy vision, disappears. And the mind, not undisturbed by the delight it feels. And so this is the mind of the traveller, which is disturbed, which is amazed by the delight, by the wonder it feels. So notice this, not undisturbed. This is a very common way to say, yes, he was in quite a commotion about this. Yeah, so he was moved to emotion by the delight. And then this mind, which slowly settles into peaceful calm. So after this awesome scene, the mind slowly calms down into a state of peace, is left to muse upon the solemn scene. So the mind is then left to muse upon, to think about the meaning, to think about the infinity of this solemn, this majestic, this official, this beautiful scene. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. A Night Piece by William Wordsworth.